Yeah, my name is Gavin Turner. Born in Brisbane, fourth generation Queenslander, if you like. I finished high school in '81, and I senior high. Worked in a bank after that, just at the high school into mainstream work. Other jobs, factory work, and with that, life was quite normal, and I was undiagnosed and showed no real history of any signs of oncoming mental illness. My brother is manic depressive bipolar, and he's chronically, he's a pensioner now and happily married though. And with that, it's genetic, as the doctors say to me, where trauma, which I have had, you could call it post-traumatic, it ignited or was a catalyst towards a chronic mental illness. And with minimal care, now that I'm in what you'd call residual late stage recovery mode, where there were, after the diagnosis of chronic schizophrenia in 1983, in a layman's term, it's a breakdown, but I was hospitalised and heavily medicated. I have one son, he's 30 years old, and the relationship lasted a year, and from that relationship, it was a live-in relationship. I've had 3 or 4 live-in relationships over periods of a year or so, good and bad. The beginning of my major recovery was a doctor said he would take me off most medications, as they can be detrimental as well as helpful, the side effects of which many people know. And from there, it's been a hard road where you almost miss a psychiatric ward. It becomes your second home, and I was what they call revolving door. Any crisis at all, I'd run up to the hospital or call an ambulance. And I'm doing a certificate with Australian College, Australian Catholic University, part-time, liberal studies, humanities, and I also just recently enrolled and am completing a 5-week course to gain storeman factory work with the use of with the gaining of a forklift ticket, which is essential to that kind of work, and hope to be either part-time or fully employed in the near future with ongoing care for my psychiatric condition. Yes. The condition I have, it's as a young man, I was diagnosed at the cliched kind of standard age of many schizophrenics at the age of 23, and I was using marijuana, I was drinking, and just a young man who thought he was having fun, good crowd, bad crowd, good social life, working in Townsville where I had gone after a bad depression and a relationship breakup. And then I felt my mind was, I began to have auditory hallucinations. That's hearing voices in most people's way of looking at it. And hearing voices it sounds like the voice of someone, another human being, but it comes from the radio or television. Messages symbolic, many times religious, spiritual. It's a deep inner core of your very essence of your existence. It's you and the universe, and nothing else matters. It's extremely grandiose. I was sexually assaulted by a stranger at the age of 22, 23, and that tipped me over the edge, I should imagine, where my mind just disintegrated, and then it was almost a terminal, chronic condition of maybe never recovering. And in due course, with the brilliant help of doctors and the medical profession, the psychiatric board and the fields, the powers that be. I did not know myself how they were saving my life. I didn't know. The illness itself is it's, you know, you read about it, or some people watch horror movies for entertainment, but it's, you live it, you know, not in a lifestyle like an anti-authoritarian criminal, but you live. You're locked up. You're not believed. You're not trusted by any friends anymore. You're stigmatized, of course. That's the main thing. Where, you know, our Uncle Gavin now is coming to the barbecue, hide the steak knives, you know, do you think he'll say or do anything strange in front of the in-laws? You become a social leper. It's the loneliest life someone could lead, because you haven't even got your mind half the time where you can think. With the Partners in Recovery, they've really, since affiliating with and working with them, the care is so much better. 30 years ago when I was diagnosed, it was my father, you know, out of the house, I think you're a drug addict, I'm not going to ask why or when or where, get a life, and down the steps I went, get a job and get a life. But that was after diagnosis on medication. But that was 30 years ago. Now, any signs, the awareness, the public programs, media, they're making it aware, and people are thinking about they're thinking about their mental illnesses. But Partners in Recovery have helped me with accommodation, ongoing counselling and support for improved quality of life through employment, education, and also medically, like socially, medically. They have programs like Quit Smoking. There's and a social network of a friendship-based social club. And Partners in Recovery have helped me with accommodation especially, and that is the key factor. That is the number one, a safe dwellings and clean environment for a base of operations, if you like. For you can't look for work or organise your life from a park bench the way you should, like everybody else has to and wants to and pays their way to do so. When Miss Q and the Partners in Recovery got me accommodation, the psychology of my mind improved 1,000%. It was just, at last, no more guest houses, no more danger of homelessness, no more. But with that, of course, if I still relapse then, through my own fault, which would be the case, then I have lost the opportunity and have to start once again in rebuilding if I am relapsed into a psychotic way of thinking where hospitalisation may be necessary. But with Partners in Recovery, they've covered the bases. The support they've given me has greatly decreased the chance of relapse into the chronic stages of mental illness, which I mentioned before. I think just at the moment, just for now, one day at a time, where hopefully to finish these studies I'm doing, full-time employment would be it, but that's easier said than done, and I have to remain well enough, and that's where Partners in Recovery come into that. With some kind of support and help, it takes so much pressure off the survival mentality of. Before Partners in Recovery, it was how to stay alive, you know, how to find a fresh water tap, how to get to a food van, you know, to put the third sugar in the coffee for the energy to get through to lunchtime. And there's less strain on the welfare services when you have your own, when you're locked in perhaps. A poor man's mortgage, we could say, where the system is making sure you do live a meaningful life through the facilities available to you, which is shown to you by Partners in Recovery. But my hopes and dreams for the future would be just to get back to normal, you know. It's a big word, small word, but just to get back to through it all, my dream has been to not have to think about my mental well-being at all, where it's just second nature. Rejoining the real world would be my dream, and that's a big grandiose statement, but the real world to me would be holidays, family, mortgage even, you know, if I want secure assets at the end of my life, better relationships with my friends and loved ones, and just get back to the dream I expected at the age of 21, although it's 30 years later. So just normality, I think, to finish up. In a word, normality and sanity. That's about it.